welcome to 2020 Design Trends by UXPin. Today in this interview, I'm joined by Aleks from KAYAK. Aleks, please tell us a bit about yourself for starters.
Hi, everyone. My name is Aleks Safarova, and I'm Director of Product Design here at KAYAK. I started in actually traditional graphic design. I went to school in Maryland Institute College of Art for branding. And then I, over the years, moved into product design. And I've been at KAYAK for about 5 years. Then I left, and then I actually came back. So, as the director of product design.
Oh, the company must be awesome if you got back.
Yes, I mean, I love the challenges that we're solving. Being international myself, travel is close to the heart. So, and then the culture here is very invigorating. And yeah, I guess, a lot of people actually come back. I'm not the first boomerang, we call us, ourselves, to come back to KAYAK.
That's so cool. Okay, Aleks, so today we will discuss a little bit your views of design trends for 2020 or 2020s in general, because we are entering a new decade after all. So you said that you started with branding and like traditional graphic design. What would you say about the landscape, like design job landscape right now? Because people are saying all like funny things that UX designer job is disappearing or something like that, or like inventing like design wizard job or something, which is like
a new title. Yeah.
So what is your opinion? How will it look like in 2020?
I think the UX design job is UX designer as a role that's a broad role. And while I feel like it's not disappearing, I think it will be breaking down into a more specialized field. Right now, if you think about UX design, that covers a wide range of skill sets, including qualitative, quantitative, behavioral research, user mapping, flows, facilitation skills, a list could go on, interaction design. So I think what we'll start seeing is these responsibilities unbundle and become much more niche in the field of design.
Yeah, okay. Do you have any specific wishes that maybe are, because as a leader you're probably hiring yourself, as I assume. So do you have anything like in mind, for a very specific thing in mind?
Well, at KAYAK, the way we approach roles and titles, we try to observe how our designers actually, like, what they're interested in, and we're trying to empower them to be more innovative and creative and use their skill sets as they see fit. So honestly, like, your title and your role, you could have a huge impact on the design at KAYAK. For example, on the front door, the price graph is designed by an intern. And it's one of our, most successful features. So it doesn't, titles are titles and roles, but I don't think it should limit you or box you into something. And also with new members coming in that are straight out of school or new to the industry, we actually prefer to give the title designer and let them kind of see how they grow into a specific domain knowledge versus like trying to pigeonhole them into like, UX design or brand design or, product design. Yeah.
That's cool. That is very cool. Thank you for sharing that. That's awesome. I would like to ask you one thing about, because you are in like specific in product design and close to technology, and I think that you have a lot of smart things to say in that area. So my question is, because we have like the whole, like digitalized social media thing going on in 2020, and this whole AR, VR
Hot topic.
Yeah, because I think it's getting more from social media and gaming world into like more basic products. Would you say so?
I would say it's definitely moving towards that direction, but I will say, as personally, or like as the brand KAYAK, we don't just innovate for the sake of innovation, just like we don't follow trends for the sake of trends. So we want to make sure that the features that we're designing, if we are embracing technology and it's actually useful for the user. So for example, in 2019, we did actually release AR bag measuring tool to help travelers understand their luggage meets, if it meets the overhead bin requirements across various airlines. That was like a huge shift in the few years, right? Like whether your carry on, and if you do have to pay extra, do you have to check in? So we did use that technology, but we didn't just like say, okay, like what can we do? It really came from trying to figure out like how do we solve that problem, and then we used AR application in the iOS that allowed us to do this. So I would say, not for the sake of it. And also, if you think about it, in AR and VR, they're still pretty new, and there are some accessibility challenges in education. VR does require additional hardware that not everyone has access to. So I think you need to know your users and whether that is something that they would have access to, whether you should invest in VR. And AR is still a very new technology, and I feel like we didn't grow up with it, and we're still trying to learn how to use it. I do think that's going to really shift for the younger generation ahead. I think it will become their go-to behavior. You already see kids, using the Snapchat and the Instagram, like little kids using the AR technology and the filters. It's quite fascinating. It's just like they get it. But so I see that changing actually quite a lot.
Yeah, I see that too. I think what the generation Alpha is coming towards us with is just, just buckle up, and it's amazing what how we have to like change the mindset to make things like usable for them, for their point of view. Yeah,
for sure.
While we were talking about like mobile devices and social media and all those Snapchat filters, I can see that there's a huge demand of device-dependent design. Would you say so?
I would say definitely. And again, like you really have to know like what platforms your users are using and spending the most time on. So again, for us, it's like we're always looking for ways to make travel planning easier on the platforms that they do spend the most time on. So when new platforms are introduced, KAYAK tries to consistently be among the early adopters. But again, you are looking at the use cases and the need. So for us, like in 2017, we were the first company to introduce booking a hotel via voice, which was pretty cool. And then 2018, we actually enabled Siri shortcuts for travelers so they could pull up their travel information on their upcoming trip. And in September, we were one of the first to do dark mode. But again, you have to see where does it make sense to do it, and what is it actually going to be useful for your users. Embracing the new technology on the platform and following the platform specific design patterns.
Yeah, exactly. Well, at the end of the day, you are designing for the users, right? Always, no matter the trends. Is it like new technology or old technology? Never mind that, right?
Right. For sure, because I feel like you really have to look at the new platforms and the new patterns. And as designers working on technology, and it's important for us to tailor the new user experience while also communicating like your brand values in a unified way without disrupting the platform specific patterns that users are getting more and more used to. And like you said, the alpha generation is going to be like, they're going to be even more dependent on that in the future.
Yeah, totally. Um, and we're talking about usability and the some patterns that the users are taking and are getting used to while we're designing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sensing that we are more and more inclusive in this approach, right? So we talk about accessibility or inclusive design more and more, and I strongly believe and I really hope that this is going to be like serious trend in 2020. Would you agree with me on that?
I would take it maybe even one step farther and say it will not be treated as like a trend or even an afterthought, but it will be a requirement that will just need to be met. Um, and actually, it's going to be like a tool that helps designers to design for people. So, it's not an afterthought. It's not just like something you meet, but it is a tool to help you design from the beginning of the process rather than just like, investing in time later in it. And also, both accessibility and inclusive design, I think, are critical to create great products for the greatest number of people. And we do see more and more brands embracing it, which is, I think, amazing. And I really hope that continues.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like you said that you can kind of say some stuff about your
Mhm.
company culture with the design.
Yeah.
And this says a lot, I think, right?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, not only your company culture, but just like you know, it's more than just laws and compliances, right? Isn't it just like human to make sure that our products can be more widely used? I think that's really just key.
Yeah, totally. Not just a business goal.
Right. Not just a business goal. It's just, do you want to reach a wide variety of audiences? That's and users. That's kind of it.
Yeah. Well, and me being in design tool
Mhm.
industry, I think I'm sensing that the design tool providers, are trying to make it more and more easy for the designers
For
to
sure.
design in that way.
For sure. I mean, even in browsers, right? In Google Chrome, you could see the contrast ratio easily now in code, like if you click in spec mode. So I think, and then all these plugins that are both on Sketch and Figma, like the Stark plugin, for example, it's just, I think more and more tooling is available now to make it just like as seamless as possible and as part of the process. But I think also, as a company, you need to really embrace inclusive design and shift your paradigm and the way you approach new feature development. I think it is an ongoing practice that draws from a full range of human diversity and emotion qualities. So to aid the shift, for example, we developed guidelines for our product managers, for our designers, from our engineers, and quality assurance, in making it like a team responsibility. Everyone is accountable for it, rather than at the end of the process, for example, QA catches it. Uh,
Yeah.
or designers are like, oh wait, we forgot this. Um,
Yeah, that would be won't be a good process.
yeah. Or even, I mean, I know there's companies that have teams dedicated to just doing accessibility, but I feel like, I believe there's going to be a shift of just like everyone is going to be responsible for this, not just like, hey, there's only a dedicated team dedicated to this roles.
Yeah, fingers crossed. Alex, would you share with us also, like maybe a trend for 2020 that you are really looking forward to, or your plans for 2020, something in that area, like more your personal approach to 2020?
Yeah, it's interesting because so my favorite trend is actually for 2020, and I think a lot of designers are already starting to talk about this. Is less about like anything specific to design and more about the design process.
Mhm.
Um, I'm super excited for design process really opening up to the rest of the team. So designers are not they're not the only ones that own the process of design, or the final outcome at the end of the process. And tools like that are allow like a lot of tools like Figma and even Abstract, you see the process throughout, and I'm excited that more and more teams are embracing, so you're problem solving together rather in these like isolated um, you know just designers owning it and that's it. So I'm really seeing that as a huge trend, and because of the new technology that is coming out, it's becoming easier and easier, and it's restructuring the way that we're working already. Just like thinking about it when I first joined Kayak to how it is now, it's so much more collaborative. And also as the team grew for us, it was important to keep people more aligned on what's going on. So I'm really excited for that trend, opening up the design process, and designers becoming more facilitators and aligning in strategy rather than just like pixel perfect mocks or small interactions. It's becoming a different role, which I think is amazing, actually.
Yeah, well, thank you. Thank you for mentioning that because, well, actually, UXPin was, as far as I remember, one of the first design tools that actually had the collaborative.
Yeah.
So, and we are really going to look more into that in 2020. So that's a really good insight from you.
I feel like I think like right the Google docs of the world, the Google Drive and um, early processes that started pushing that like collaborative in note taking or decks, and now it's kind of something that's opening up to other tools embracing this, and I think it's amazing. Actually, it's really, I think you're getting better ideas, the quality of work is improving a lot, the more people are embracing the feedback loop um, early in the process. So I think it's really cool to see this, and I'm excited to see what UXPin will come out with uh, that drives that collaboration.
Thank you very much. And thank you, Alex, for joining us in this interview, for your thoughts and your insights. And I wish you all the best in 2020. Fingers crossed for all the plans you have. And thanks.
Thank you so much too. Really appreciate talking to you guys.